welcome to another exciting episode of Hoda's Career Info. The young lady I am interviewing today is Lindsay Purchase. If you work in the career development field, you will know that Lindsay is the editor of CEREC's Careering Magazine, CareerWise website, and CareerWise weekly newsletter. She loves to connect with people working in all areas of career development to help them share their stories, strategies, and ideas. You can learn about CEREC, a charitable organization that advances education and research in career counseling and career development at cerec.ca. One final note before we begin our interview, I want to share how thankful I am for the many career professionals who have helped me so far in having hashtag career literacy trend. More importantly, today I would like to thank Lindsay Purchase for writing an article recently where she compiled a list of resources on career literacy. I am very appreciative of the time you spent putting this together, Lindsay. I will share the link to this article in the comments section, so make sure you look for it and increase your knowledge in career literacy. Now, on to the interview. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining me today. I'm happy that you agreed to be part of my show because I believe that with all the articles that you read and you edit, you have developed a unique and diversified knowledge of the career field. But first, I want the audience to get to know you. So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been with CEREC for about 3 years now, and I don't actually come from a career development background. So I graduated with a degree in global studies, and then I spent a few years working in journalism before branching out into nonprofit communications.
And so, how did you choose your career path? Like, what were the thought processes and experiences that finally led you to join CEREC?
So looking back, I think my motivation for going into global studies was largely about wanting to have a career that was connected to some kind of social impact. And so I think that does, in a way, come full circle to what I'm doing with CEREC. But of course, there's a few steps in between there. So I spent a lot of time when I was in university working for the campus newspaper. I spent easily as much time there as I did on all of my class activities. And so when I graduated, I really wanted to give journalism a shot and, see how that went. So I was lucky enough to get hired out of school working for a subsidiary of the Canadian Press. And so we did the copy editing and the digital and print production for the Globe and Mail and the Toronto Star. So it was exciting work. It was fast paced and very team driven, really interesting to be on top of the news all the time. But ultimately, it was one of those jobs that I saw as a stepping stone because there wasn't a lot of opportunity for growth within the organization. And I thought initially that the stepping stone would be into maybe a job as a reporter somewhere else. But over time, I came to realize that just wasn't quite the right fit for me. And it was a hard realization to come to because you have sort of a picture of yourself in your mind and what you think your pathway will be. And realizing that maybe that wasn't going to be the most satisfying thing for me was a difficult identity shift in my mind. But I did decide to start looking into positions in nonprofit communications. I felt that would be a good fit for my skill set, but then also sort of connect back to that social good piece that had driven me initially. So I embarked on my job search while still employed, and I have to tell you, Hoda, it was really tough. Knowing everything that I do now from having spent these past 2 years working with career professionals, I think I would have done things a bit differently, but I was fairly naive going into it. So I think there are a few things I did right, some upskilling, getting some experience through freelancing, But then on the flip side of that, I just don't think I had a very good sense of my own skills and what I could bring to an employer. I wasn't very good at telling my story because I was so used to just thinking of myself as part of a team, and what the team accomplished. And then I spent most of my time over the year and a half that I was looking, really focused on job boards. I did not engage in hardly any networking, which I understand now is so key to making a career pivot. And I did briefly think about accessing career services, but at the time I just didn't understand really what they were and what kind of value that could have brought. Now I can see that probably would have made the process so much less stressful and made my applications much more effective. But I just didn't have that awareness then. So when I came across the job posting for CEREC, I really didn't know much about the career development field. I wasn't familiar with CEREC as an organization, but I saw this opportunity to run these publications, and it felt like it could be a good fit for my skills. And, I saw that CEREC was a really purpose-driven organization, and that was interesting to me as well. So they brought me in for a couple of interviews, and I was so excited about that after, my long job search. And over those interviews, I came to see that this was such a passionate group of people, and there was really this spirit of innovation and openness to change that were quite appealing to me, as well as there was an autonomy and creativity in the role that had been missing from my previous work. So that was quite appealing as well. And I was lucky enough that they offered me the position. And, I don't know why or how I was chosen. I don't even know if I was the first choice for the position, but I think I was able to bring something to it. And then I'm sure there were elements of luck and timing in there as well. With most job searches there are. But I felt really welcome right away. And, I've enjoyed really being a part of this field for the past few years.
Wow, like your journey brings up many, many, many points that I want to dig deeper in. I don't know if we have the time, but yeah, that shift is important, right? Is to be welcoming that shift and be okay with it. I think you went on your own through that reflection process that we as career development professionals encourage our clients to do, but you had to do it on your own and probably make it that much harder. As you said, it was you had to go through a lot of experiences to figure out where you land, but it seems to me you landed in a perfect position. You seem happy to do it. And I do see your autonomy in the creativity in your posts on LinkedIn and the articles that you write yourself, that you put together. There's a lot of creativity and innovation, and I'm glad that they let you do that at CEREC. And so I have to say, to me, you're very good at what you do. In my relationship with you, when I send you my draft articles, I know I can count on you to read between the lines and say, is this what you're saying? Is this what you're trying to say? What are you thinking here? And I truly appreciate your comments all the time, because they tell me that you understand my thinking and where I'm headed with my thoughts. So I know my article will be that much better. So you are good at what you do. But what I'm curious now is, what are you thinking when you get my article and other article submissions?
Well, that's very kind of you to say. Thank you. And I will say I have the pleasure of working with a really wide range of career professionals from all different parts of the field in my work as an editor. And people are coming from really different types of work. So some of them have a lot of writing experience, and for others, this is a bit newer. And the experience of going through an editing process could be totally new to them. And so I try to be cognizant of that this can be a bit of a different experience for someone who hasn't been there before. And I also am always trying to recognize that I'm not the subject matter expert here. The writers are the subject matter experts. And so I try to come to every article with a sense of humility, and I try to treat the editing process like a conversation. So here are my editing suggestions. Here's what I think can help get your ideas across a bit more clearly or succinctly. But let me know what you think. Do you have any questions? Does this make sense to you? Am I understanding it correctly? And I think giving that room for people to push back and have that dialogue is important, because they're the experts, and in the case that I've misconstrued or misunderstood something, we need to be able to have that space for back and forth. It can also be tricky as an editor because the process is fairly subjective. There are these rules that you're trying to apply, but ultimately a lot of it is about my opinion. And so I have to be thinking as I go through, why does this change need to happen? How does it actually improve the article? Am I actually just imposing a preference of mine on this person's piece of writing? And that's not what I want to be doing. So I have to be cognizant of editing my edits in a way, to make sure that they're actually serving the reader, which is the goal here. I think that process can also help take some of the emotion out of it. So it can be a really vulnerable place for someone to put your writing out there for critique. And I know that's hard because I've been on the other side of it. And so in a case where something is a little farther from publication ready and it needs a bit more work on my part and on the writer's part, I do really try to make sure I'm providing a lot of explanation and context for where I think something needs to go, including maybe having a phone call to walk someone through the changes. My goal is that anyone should be able to share their story on CareerWise if they have something to say to their peers in the career development field. And so I'm always trying to make it a positive experience for people, even if I'm having to deliver that constructive criticism.
It's definitely constructive criticism, and I never feel that you've overstepped my ideas or anything like that. So you are good at what you do. But I want to contradict you a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, I feel you have a lot more knowledge than many of us in the career development field when you read every article and you dig so deeply into it. And so there are things that you probably, that you would know than than I would know for sure. And so with this knowledge in mind that you've developed with this editing, what is your definition of career literacy?
So I would say, based on what I've seen, what I've heard other people talking about, I think career literacy is about building up people's capacity to make more informed decisions about their careers and to help them reach their goals. And I see that as being kind of a multi-component thing. So there's the knowledge piece of that. So I think self-knowledge around your skills, your values, your interests, and how those apply in an employment or an education context. And then the sort of labor market information knowledge. And then I think there's also a skills element of that. So do you actually have the skills to reach your goals, whether that's the employability skills or it's your job search skills. And then I think there's a third piece of this, which is maybe around the career mindset. And to me, that's about the recognition that all of these pieces are constantly evolving. And so it's not just about picking a path and sticking to it as we maybe used to conceive of a career, but being prepared to change over time. And that's kind of where the thinking went with our spring summer issue of Careering Magazine, which was on career pivots.
Well, I love your thinking, and I agree with you on that. I think of it as a lifelong exercise that we have to be doing. And so your definition of career literacy does definitely make sense. And it builds on your experience, it seems, too, from your backgrounds and what you've read within your work. I view your role as the editor of CEREC's Careering Magazine, CareerWise website, and the CareerWise weekly newsletter as working behind the scenes for the career development field. Unless people submit the article, they may not know you a lot. They may not get that chance to get to know you as much as I feel like just our emails allow me to get to know you. So how do you feel that the work that you do contributes to the field?
So I would agree generally with that characterization of kind of a behind the scenes actor, maybe a support staff player in the career development field. With these publications, I would say a large part of the goal is that we're helping to build people's knowledge and competencies who are working in career development. So maybe that's providing information that they need to work with clients or students, letting them know about programs or counseling strategies, or say with our reports listicles that we release every week, it's connecting people to the latest labor market information that they need to know to help others make informed decisions. And that's a shared goal across many of CEREC's programs. So whether it's our webinars or our Connexus conference. And then I think we have sort of our other CEREC strategic mandate, which is around promoting career development as a priority for the public good. And I do think you see some of that come across in these publications as well. So, some of our writers might bring that lens to their work, whether that's a careering article on equitable career education, or your recent article on career literacy, I think is a good example of that as well. And so for me, I see my role as a person who can help other people share their knowledge, their challenges, and their ideas to support the work of career professionals, and then to help kind of move the needle on career development in Canada.
Well, I am a subscriber, and I always find there are innovative ideas, and I enjoy reading your emails with everything. It's definitely been very resourceful for me to be a part of the subscription. So I encourage everyone to subscribe. These are all my questions for you, Lindsay. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or something to add before we wrap up?
Well, Hoda, I'd love to hear, you've heard my definition of career literacy. How do you think of that?
It is definitely for me a work in progress, because I am meeting with everyone and to kind of see what everyone thinks about it. But to me, my main goal for promoting the term career literacy is because I want to see it taught in schools. I want to see it part of the K-12 education curriculum. It is it's a skill that we need when we graduate from school, right? If you don't, I always wish I had the knowledge I have now as coming out of high school, because it would have helped me to find the direction that I want to be headed for. So that's the main purpose for promoting it. But what is it defined at? It is defined really about that self-awareness. It's about lifelong learning, lifelong reflection, and not settling in for one thing. And definitely as it relates to what I want to do next. Yeah, this is how I see it, but it's not an easy definition. And I think we each of us come to it from our own background. But thank you for that question, Lindsay. And if they don't have anything else to add, I think I will say thank you again for joining me, and I wish you success in your future work.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really glad we got to have this conversation.
Thank you for joining me and Lindsay Purchase in Hoda's Career Info. Looking back, Lindsay shared personal experiences that led her to have a good sense of her personal skills and facilitated her finding a job that is the right fit for her. You can connect with Lindsay Purchase on CEREC's website, cerec.ca, and you can also find her on LinkedIn. I am your host, Hoda, and until next time, keep moving forward in productive ways.